The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, starring Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce. The makers of Grove's bromoquinine tablets bring you another adventure of Sherlock Holmes, with Basil Rathbone as Sherlock Holmes and Nigel Bruce as Dr. Watson. A cold is a miserable thing. A cold may become a dangerous thing. Even a so-called light cold can take a serious turn. Be prompt, be decisive in your treatment of a cold. At the very first sign of a cold, take Grove's bromoquinine tablets. Bromoquinine tablets quickly check the symptoms of a cold, quickly relieve the distress of a cold. They give you speedy results, which are very important. Don't monkey around when you can get such a dependable preparation as Grove's bromoquinine tablets. And now, here we are again on our usual visit to Dr. Watson. He's waiting for us in his study, a cheerful blaze crackling on the hearth.
I'm very relieved to see you, Mr. Manning. Hasn't the weather been atrocious today? I was beginning to wonder if you'd be able to get here tonight through all this fog.
Yes, it certainly is what you Londoners call a regular pea souper.
Yes, indeed. It reminds me of the adventure of the missing submarine plans. A case that was solved in the underground.
Underground?
What you Americans call a subway.
Yes, but what has a solution in a subway got to do with a foggy night?
Well, you see, the affair started in weather exactly like this. It was the third week in November, the year 1895, to be exact. On Monday, a dense yellow fog had settled down upon London. On Thursday, it was still there, thicker and murkier than ever. At first, Holmes had turned his nervous energy to cross-indexing his huge reference books. But when, after pushing our breakfast chairs back for the fourth morning, we saw the greasy brown swirl still drifting past the windows, Holmes's patience snapped. Holmes, if you must pace around in circles, I wish you'd change directions now and then. You're making me dizzy.
Bah! It's inexcusable, Watson. Inexcusable. No initiative, no imagination. Nothing ever gets done.
If you're alluding to the inactivity in this last session of Parliament, my dear Holmes...
I'm not speaking of our lawmakers, Watson, but of our lawbreakers. The London criminal is certainly a dull fellow.
What makes you say that?
Well, look out of the window. Ideal weather for committing a crime. The criminal advances on his intended victim practically unseen. He pounces and disappears into thin air.
There have been numerous petty thefts, I believe.
Petty thefts, pickpockets, ragamuffins. What's the country coming to? Now, if I were a criminal, Watson...
Well, I, for one, would move to America.
Oh, hello. Mrs. Hudson's knocking. Excited. What's up, I wonder? Yes, Mrs. Hudson, what is it? Oh, a telegram for me.
Yes, sir.
Very well, thank you.
Oh, well, what's it say?
Oh, wait until I open it, can't you? Ah, dear me, what next? Most unusual, Watson, most unusual.
What's most unusual, Watson? What's it say?
Well, it's from my brother, Mycroft. You remember him. He helped us solve the case of the Greek interpreter. He's coming here.
Why not? What's so phenomenal about
Why
this?
not? Why not, indeed? It's as startling as it would be to meet a tram car coming down a country lane. Yes, now I come to think of it. Mycroft is rather like a tram car. His rails lead from his Pall Mall lodgings to the Diogenes Club in Whitehall. That's his circle. I wonder what upheaval could have derailed him.
Doesn't the telegram explain?
It says, must see you about Cadogan West, coming at once.
Cadogan West? Cadogan West? Why, that's the young chap who's found dead in the underground on Tuesday morning. I remember reading about it in the papers.
Oh?
The young man had apparently fallen out of a train and killed himself. He hadn't been robbed, and there was no reason to suspect violence. Quite an uninteresting case, if I remember correctly.
And yet, it's serious enough to cause Mycroft to alter his habits. No, Watson. This must be an extraordinary event. Do you recall any other facts about the affair?
Yes, I come to think of it, there was one unusual bit came out of the inquest. They were unable to ascertain at what point he entered the train, because his ticket was missing.
Strange. What articles were found on the body?
Oh, £2.15, I believe it was, a checkbook and... Oh, yes, 2 dress circle tickets for the Woolwich Theatre. Dated for that evening.
Theatre tickets, eh? Then it wasn't suicide. A man doesn't procure theater tickets for the evening on which he intends to end his life. Anything else?
A small packet of technical papers.
Technical papers? What kind of technical papers?
The newspapers didn't say.
Ah, as serious as that. What did the young man do? Where was he employed?
He was a clerk at Woolwich Arsenal.
Ah, government employee. There we have it, Watson. British government, Woolwich Arsenal, technical papers. That's why Mycroft is involved in this affair.
I don't understand.
No, I suppose not. Watson, have I ever told you what Mycroft is?
Your brother, of course.
Oh, no, Watson. Do you have to be so dense? I mean, do you know what he does?
I seem to have some vague recollection that you once told me that he'd held some small office under the British government.
It would be more accurate to say, in a way, that he is the British government.
What?
His position is unique. He made it for himself. As the tidiest and most orderly brain of any man alive, with a great capacity for storing facts and giving them the proper interpretation. The conclusions of every government department are passed on to him. He's the central exchange, the clearinghouse. Again and again, his word has decided the national policy. He thinks of nothing else. Nothing else can lure him from his contemplations.
And yet he's coming here.
Yes, Jupiter is descending on us today.
What on earth can happen?
Watson, that sounds suspiciously like a bad pun. Ah, here he is, if I'm not mistaken. To speak for himself. Come in. Hello, Mycroft. What's up? You look flustered.
Most annoying business, Sherlock, most annoying. You know how I dislike altering my habits. Extremely awkward for me to come away from the office, particularly with Siam in its present state. Oh, dear me.
Yeah, sit down, Mycroft, sit down. You know Watson, of course.
Yes, of course. I'm trying to find a chair that I can trust to hold me.
I'd better take the sofa. You certainly haven't got any thinner.
I've never seen the Prime Minister so upset. As for the Admiralty, it's buzzing like an upset beehive. You know anything about the case?
Watson's just been telling me what was in the newspapers. Just what were the technical papers found on the body?
Sherlock, for the love of heaven, not so loud. Those papers which the wretched youth had in his pocket were none other than the plans of the Bruce Partington submarine.
Oh?
A submarine which will completely revolutionize naval warfare. The most important papers in our government archives. Under no circumstances could they be removed from the office. Even the chief constructor of the Navy was forced to go to Woolwich if he desired to consult them.
And yet we find them in the pockets of a dead junior clerk in the heart of London. Yeah, from an official point of view, it's deplorable, my dear Mycroft. Simply deplorable.
You may laugh, Sherlock, but this country won't be safe until they are recovered.
But I thought you said that they were found in the pocket of this chap, Cadogan West.
10 papers taken from Woolwich. 7 were found in the pockets of Cadogan West. 3 are still missing, the 3 essential ones. To recover those 3 papers is imperative. The peace of Europe depends on them.
Nice little problem, eh, Watson? Why did Cadogan West take the papers? How did he die? How did his body reach the place where it was found? And where are the missing papers?
Find the answer to those questions, Sherlock, and you'll have done your country an invaluable service.
Oh, why don't you solve it yourself, Mycroft? I believe you could.
Possibly. But it's a question of digging out details. Give me the details, and I can give you the solution from an armchair. No, when it comes to running about and cross-questioning railway guards and lying on one's face with a lens to one's eye, no, that's not my métier.
Besides, your figure prevents your taking such an undignified position, eh? Very well. Leave that part of it to us, eh, Watson?
Right, you are.
Good. I've got a cab waiting outside to take you to the place where the body was found. I can give you the details on the way.
Now, Mycroft, who was the official guardian of these famous papers?
No less a personage than Sir James Walter, a gentleman who's grown grey in the service. His patriotism is beyond suspicion.
A bachelor, if I'm not mistaken. Lives with his brother.
Yes. He was at the house of Admiral Sinclair at Berkeley Square during the whole of the evening when this accident occurred. The Admiral vouches for him. He's one of the 2 who have the only keys to the safe.
And his key was with him all evening?
Right. His key, the key to the building, the key to the room.
Who was the man with the other key?
The senior clerk, Mr. Sidney Johnson. Man of 40, married, silent, morose, with an excellent service record.
Any alibi?
He, too, had his key with him and seems to have spent the evening playing a game of draughts with the green grocer around the corner from his lodgings. Of course, he has only the word of this green grocer to back him up.
Oh, come, my dear Mycroft. No class discriminations, please. The word of a greengrocer is often just as good as that of an admiral. What about Cadogan West?
He had a good reputation. A bit hot-headed, but straight and honest. At least, everyone thought so. He was next to Sidney Johnson at the office. His duties brought him into daily personal contact with the plans. No one else ever had the handling of them.
Oh, it's perfectly clear. He must have taken...
Ah, not so fast, Watson, not so fast. Who locked them up that night?
Mr. Sidney Johnson.
Ah, they were of value, commercially, I mean.
Oh, yes. There's no doubt that West could have got several thousands for them very easily.
And yet, only a small amount of money was found on the body.
Perhaps the buyer took it back after he'd murdered West.
What puzzles me is, how did West obtain possession of those papers? To do so, he must have had a false key.
Several false keys, Sherlock. He had to open the building and the room as well.
Oh, well. Several false keys, then. Let me see. Suppose West did take the papers and went into town. And on the way back to Woolwich, where he is hoping to replace the papers, he's killed and thrown from the train.
But the spot where the body was found is considerably past the station for London Bridge, which is the route to Woolwich.
That's interesting. Also, if young West did make an appointment with some foreign agent to sell the papers that night, why didn't he keep the evening clear? Why buy 2 theater tickets?
Exactly. Furthermore, he actually escorted his fiancée halfway there before he disappeared.
A blind. That's what it looks like to me.
Why did he take the papers at all? Why not copy them out in the office and sell the copies? He certainly had plenty of opportunity to do so. And why the absence of his underground ticket?
Perhaps the ticket would have shown us which station was near the agent's house. So the murderer destroyed it.
Good, Watson. Very good. And yet, I wonder...
Well, here's the underground station. The railway authorities have sent a man round to show the exact place where the body was found.
You won't change your mind and come with us?
Well, crawling round that black hole on my hands and knees, not very likely. Well, I shall expect a report on your efforts this evening.
Never expect too much, Mycroft. Never expect too much.
Before we follow Holmes and Watson into the mazes of the London subway system, I have a word of advice. Every year, colds cause a lot of sickness. Every year, they cause a lot of expense and time lost from work. Always regard a cold seriously. Always treat it earnestly. At the first sign of a cold, take Grove's bromoquinine tablets. Bromoquinine tablets are famous relief for the distress of a cold. Their efficacy has been fully established. Bromoquinine tablets go right to work on a cold symptom. They don't waste any time. They don't pull any punches. They quickly relieve the misery of a cold. They help reduce the fever of a cold. Thousands of people keep bromoquinine tablets handy all winter. Thousands of people depend on them as their relief for colds. No other preparation enjoys greater confidence than bromoquinine tablets. Follow the example of millions, and at the first sign of a cold, take Grove's bromoquinine tablets. Get them at any drugstore, a few cents a box. Ask specifically for Grove's, Groves, Bromo, Bromo, quinine, Quinine, Grove's bromoquinine tablets.
This way, sir. Step right along the tracks.
But it isn't safe. Supposing a train should come shooting round that curve.
Oh, that's all right, sir. There won't be another for 5 minutes anyway. Here we are, sir. This is where they found the body. Right here alongside the rails. Lying on its face it was.
Spooky old place, eh, Holmes? Like the catacombs, only without the skeletons.
Yeah. Anything in his hands when they found him?
No, sir.
Were they clenched? Or spread out as if he were protecting himself?
No, sir. They was what you might call relaxed.
What time did all this happen?
Well, sir, the train he was hoisted out of, as near as we can figure, passed along here about midnight on Monday.
All the carriages have been examined for signs of violence, I suppose.
They didn't find nothing, not even the missing ticket. There was a passenger to Aldgate on the ordinary train. About 11:40 it was. He said he'd heard a heavy thud, like something striking the line, just before the train reached this station. But it was so foggy, he said he was blessed if he could see what it was.
Holmes, what's the matter? What are you staring at?
The curve, Watson.
What
curve
of it?
of the rails.
What of it? What do you mean?
I suppose there aren't many curves as abrupt as this.
No, sir, I can't say as there is.
What have curves got to do with it?
Oh, an indication, Watson. Merely an indication. Unique. Perfectly unique. And yet, why not? I don't see any indications of bleeding on the line.
No, sir, there wasn't any to speak of.
But I understand there was a considerable wound.
The bone was crashed right enough.
Holmes, You hear that? It's a train. It's coming this way.
Run, sir. Run for your life.
Yes, but where?
Up ahead. There's a place where the train switches off.
Run, Watson, run. It's just around the curve.
We'll never make it.
Yes, we will. Faster, faster.
There's the switch up ahead. Come on.
Here comes the train now.
We'll make it. Ah, Justin. Watson, for the love of heaven. You're on the wrong track.
Well, that was a narrow escape, Holmes. I must say my knees are still shaking. Look at the shoulder of my coat where you pulled it there.
Lucky thing for you that I did.
Where are we off to now in this fog?
Yes, it's a nice afternoon. Suppose we pay a few calls. I think Sir James Walter claims our first attention. After that, we might drop in on Miss Westbury.
Miss Westbury? Who's she?
She is Cadogan West's fiancée and the last person to see him alive.
Holmes, we seem to be going around in circles. We've accomplished absolutely nothing so far except to get ourselves nearly annihilated in the underground. After all, it's perfectly obvious that the young man had a quarrel with someone, in all probability the agent, to whom he sold the papers, and got himself thrown out of the railway carriage for his pay.
I disagree with you, my dear Watson. His body fell from the roof of the carriage where it had been placed. Cadogan West met his death elsewhere.
The roof of the train?
Consider the facts, Watson. A, the curve in the tracks. The body is found at a spot where the train pitches and sways as it comes around the points. B, there was no ticket. C, there were no signs of bleeding on the line because the body had bled elsewhere.
Of course. Everything fits together, but where was the body placed on the train?
I think I can make a fair guess at that, my dear Watson. Here we are. This is the famous official villa of Sir James Walter. And that, if I'm not mistaken, is his brother, Colonel Valentine, just coming out of the house.
What's the matter with the man? He looks positively haunted.
Oh, pardon me, Colonel Valentine, but can you tell me if Sir James is at home?
Sir James, sir? Sir James is dead.
Good heavens, dead?
He died this morning. It's terrible. Terrible.
How did he die?
Oh, it's this horrible scandal. My brother, sir, was very sensitive of his honor. He couldn't survive the disgrace to his department. It broke his heart. Pardon me, gentlemen, I must go. It broke his heart.
Most appalling development. Eh, Holmes?
I wonder if his death was natural, or if the poor fellow killed himself.
Yes?
Will you tell Miss Westbury that Mr. Sherlock Holmes would like to see her?
Oh, please come in, gentlemen. I'm Violet Westbury, Mr. Holmes. I've been expecting you ever since I heard you had taken the case. Please be seated.
Well, thank you.
Oh, Mr. Holmes, we must save his good name. He couldn't have done it. Cadogan was the most chivalrous, patriotic gentleman on earth. He couldn't have done it. He would have cut his right hand off rather than sell a state secret.
But the facts, my dear Miss Westbury.
I admit I can't explain them.
Was he in need of money?
No, Mr. Holmes. His needs were simple and his salary very good. He'd saved several £100. We were to be married at the new year.
I see. Had you noticed any signs of mental excitement?
Why, well, that is...
Come, Miss Westbury, be frank with us.
Yes, Mr. Holmes. That night, I had a feeling that there was something on his mind.
Mm-hmm. Tell us about it, will you?
We were on the way to the theater. It was a foggy night, you remember? We were walking slowly. Our way took us close to his office. Cadogan seemed thoughtful and worried. Darling, what's the matter? You haven't said a word for the last 5 minutes. Have I said or done something?
Of course not, silly. It's just that I've got something on my mind.
Oh, why not tell me about it? Perhaps I can help.
It's no use, Vi. It's too serious for me to talk about, even to you.
You know, sometimes, Caddy, I feel just the least little bit jealous of that old job of yours when you're cooped up in that building all day.
Oh, now you're not going to be jealous of the building.
Well, not really. But it is funny to think of a husband having secrets he can't tell his wife.
Mighty important secrets, I can promise you. There's one in particular that any foreign spy would pay good money to get hold of.
How thrilling.
Well, I don't know. They're awfully slack about some things over there in that building, Violet. Much too slack. It would be too confounded easy for a traitor to get his hands on those plans.
What plans?
Never mind, darling. I guess I'm getting a bit melodramatic. But there's something been worrying me. Hello, what's that?
What's what?
Over there, that shadow moving along the side of the building. It's a man. So that's it. I always suspected...
Oh, what's the matter? You're so excited. What's wrong?
Stay here, Violet. There's something I have to find out. Stay here.
I waited and waited, but he never returned. Oh, Mr. Holmes, if you could only save his honor, it meant so much to him.
We shall do our best, Miss Westbury. This shadow, this man moving along the building. Did you see it, too?
I think I did, Mr. Holmes. But the night was so foggy, I can't be sure. But there must have been a man. Another man. It couldn't have been Cadogan. Surely character goes for something.
Let us hope so. Come along, Watson. We must return home. I'm expecting an answer to some telegrams I sent Mycroft earlier this afternoon. We've done enough for one day.
Holmes, where have you been all day? You left this morning before I was up. Now you've come home with your towel awry, your suit torn, and as ravenous as a wolf.
Yes, I've had a bit of exercise, my dear Watson. Pass me the tongue, will you? It would have done you good to go along.
Yes, what were you doing?
Investigating the premises inhabited by foreign spies known to have been in London on last Monday. Mycroft sent me a list of them. Took a bit of doing, too. Climbing walls, breaking into cellars, prowling around rooftops.
Well?
I discovered there was only one residence which had the proper facilities for disposing of West's body after the murder.
Well, whose residence was that?
It belongs to a Hugo Oberstein. The address is 13 Caulfield Gardens, Kensington. The gentleman himself has departed for Europe.
Gone, has he? And he took the plans with him. It's too late.
Not necessarily, Watson.
What can we do now?
We're going to keep a rendezvous with the gentleman who stole and sold those plans. The assignation will take place at Mr. Oberstein's house this evening at 9.
What the deuce are you talking about?
These newspaper clippings. I found them in the drawer of Hugo Oberstein's desk. Read them.
The Daily Telegraph agony column. The first one says, too complex for description, must have full report, terms agreed to, payable when goods delivered. Signed, Piero. Piero, indeed. Sounds like a Mardi Gras.
Read on, Watson, read on.
Second goes, matter presses, must withdraw offer unless contract completed. Piero again.
And the last, dated Monday, the day the crime was committed.
Monday night after 9, 2 taps, payment in hard cash. I say, do you think it was a submarine that the plans that he was buying?
I'm almost positive. And Piero was Oberstein himself. But we'll find out for certain this evening. I've invited the gentleman who sold the papers to meet us.
How? I don't understand.
I inserted this advertisement in today's Daily Telegraph. Tonight, same hour, same place, 2 taps, vitally important. Your own safety at stake. Signed, Piero, as usual.
By George, if he answers that, we've got him.
Unless we're too late. Come along, Watson. There's no time to lose. You can take this package for a change. I've been carrying it around all day.
What's in it?
Oh, just a jemmy, a dark lantern, a chisel, and a revolver.
Nice equipment for a respectable citizen to be carrying about the streets of London, I must say.
Yeah, you know, Watson, there are times when I suspect we aren't quite respectable. Here we are. This is Caulfield Gardens.
Thank heavens, it's still foggy. I shouldn't like to be caught in the act of housebreaking.
Yeah. Over this wall, Watson. There's a window we can easily pry open in the back.
Scale that wall?
Come on, hurry up. There's no time to lose. Here. I'll give you a boost. Come on, up you. That's it. Look out, here I come.
I must say, Holmes, you're as agile as a cat. It's uncanny.
This is the window. Light the lantern and give me the jemmy. 1, 2.
Mr. Holmes, the underground runs right past here, almost on the level of these windows. I could have reached out and touched it.
Yes, quite convenient, wasn't it? It was here the body was placed on the roof of a train. Look on this windowsill. You can see the soot is blurred where they rested the body. And here, look. This brown stain is blood.
Nasty, eh, Holmes? Let's get on to the house.
Very well, then. Come along. The window's open. Easy, don't break the glass.
Supposing Oberstein should happen to return home.
Well, we must take our chances in this business. Come along, Watson, come along. Our visitor will expect to be let in by the front door.
I wish these stairs didn't squeak so.
9 o'clock. We can expect him at any moment now. You take your position on one side of the door. I'll be on the other. So we can pounce on him when he enters. I'll throw my greatcoat over his head.
I wish he'd hurry.
Shh, Watson.
What if he doesn't come?
There he is. Ready now. I'll open the door.
You wanted me?
No, you don't. Take that.
What the...
Easy, Watson, easy.
All right, Holmes, I've got him.
Well, let's take a look at our catch. Take the overcoat away, Watson.
Right. Hi. It's Colonel Valentine Walter, Sir James's brother.
Quite. Well, sir, what have you to say for yourself? Why did you steal the Bruce Partington plans?
Who are you? What do you know about this?
I am Sherlock Holmes, and I know everything.
Oh, this is terrible. I'm lost. I didn't realize their importance until my brother killed himself. But I needed the money. I had to have it. Oberstein offered to give it to me if I'd let him see the plans.
So you took an impression of your brother's key, opened the safe, and procured the papers. Cadogan West saw you leaving the building, followed you here, and you killed him.
No, I didn't do that. I swear I didn't do it.
No? Then perhaps you'd better tell us who did murder Cadogan West and placed him on the roof of the railway carriage.
I'll tell you. I promise you I will. I did the rest. I confess it, but not that.
Very well, then. How did it happen?
I got the papers, as you've discovered. Made my way through the fog until I reached the door. Once or twice, I fancied I was being followed. I could hear footsteps on the pavement behind me.
Colonel Walter?
Yes?
You have the papers?
Yes. Let me in, quick. I think someone's been following me.
Yes, it's me.
Huh?
You can't do this, Valentine. It's treason.
Corey, do you hear?
No, you can't sell the papers.
Papa Oberstein, he knows how to use a blackjack, eh?
You've killed him.
So?
It's murder. I'm going to get out of this.
Oh, no. I think different. You will come in here if you do not wish to taste the blackjack, too.
But
That is better.
Oh, what can we do? They'll find the body.
I have an idea. First, I look at those papers. I take the ones I want, and the rest we put in the pocket of this foolish young man. And then we give him a nice ride on top of the underground train, no? He will be the guilty one. Who will ever know?
What a thoroughly unpleasant gentleman. What a pity that he got away with the papers, Dr. Watson.
Oh, but he didn't. Oberstein had left a Paris forwarding address with Colonel Walters. That gentleman sent him a letter dictated by Holmes, saying that he had discovered that one essential detail in the plans was missing, and that he had procured a tracing which would make it complete for a price.
And did Oberstein swallow the bait?
Did he swallow it? He was arrested as he got off the boat at Folkestone. Some weeks later, I learned, incidentally, that Holmes had spent a day at Windsor Castle and returned with a remarkably fine emerald tie-pin. When I asked him where he got it, he answered it was just a small present from a certain gracious little old lady for whom he'd been able to do a small favor.
Yes, and I think I can guess the lady's august name.
Elementary, my dear Mr. Manning, elementary.
I see. Ladies and gentlemen, in just a moment, Dr. Watson will be back to tell us about next week's story. In the meantime, let us repeat. Watch out for colds. At the first sign of a cold, take Grove's bromoquinine tablets. Bromoquinine tablets are made especially for the relief of colds. In other words, they're specialized medication, and that's what you want. Yes, at the very first sneeze or sniffle, go right to your druggist and get a package of Grove's bromoquinine tablets. Now, Dr. Watson, next week?
Next week, I think I'll tell you the story of the lion's mane.
The lion's mane. What was that, Dr. Watson?
Well, the answer to that question, Mr. Manning, almost stumped Sherlock Holmes himself. Suffice it to say that they were the last words gasped out by a dying man as he lay writhing in agony on the sands of the Sussex coast.
You have been listening to a Sherlock Holmes adventure, adapted from Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's story, The Bruce Partington Plans, with Basil Rathbone as Sherlock Holmes and Nigel Bruce as Dr. Watson. The dramatization was by Edith Miser. This program is presented from Hollywood every week at this same time by the makers of Grove's bromoquinine tablets. Quick relief for colds. This is Knox Manning speaking.
This is the National Broadcasting Company.
The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, starring Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce. The makers of bromoquinine cold tablets bring you another adventure of Sherlock Holmes with Basil Rathbone as Sherlock Holmes and Nigel Bruce as Dr. Watson. Watch out for colds, ladies and gentlemen. They're very prevalent now, and a little cold may be the start of a serious illness. What you want to do at the first sign of a cold is take famous bromoquinine tablets. Bromoquinine tablets are made for one purpose and one purpose only, and that is the relief of colds. They act fast, give you speedy results, and that's what you want when you have a cold. Bromoquinine tablets are known the world over for their efficacy. Trust to reputation when buying a medicine. Do this when you feel a cold coming on, and you'll ask for bromoquinine cold tablets. And now, as we make our way through the night to Dr. Watson's hospitable door, we notice a feeling of spring in the air. The buds are swollen on the trees, still black and dripping from the rain. And there's the smell of warm, damp earth.
Delicious. Hey, Mr. Manning?
Well, hello, Dr. Watson. I didn't see you in the dark.
Yes, I've been out checking up to see if my magnolias survived the winter.
Any casualties?
No, they all seem to be fairly bursting with buds. There's nothing as delicious as that first faint whiff of spring. All is treacherous. Come along to the house before we both catch our death of cold.
After you, sir.
Not at all, my boy. None of that age before beauty nonsense. I'm not as decrepit as all that.
Oh, what's this? The front hall littered with trunks and suitcases?
Oh, yes. I'm afraid my annual wanderlust has broken out rather early this spring. I'm off on a little jaunt first thing tomorrow morning, but come along into the study.
Does that mean that this is the last of our storytelling evening?
For this winter, yes, I'm afraid it does. Well, I trust I'm not too forward if I hope to be invited back again in the fall.
Oh, of course not. You know we'll be waiting for your return.
Oh, thanks very much. It's very, very decent of you. To put up with the meanderings of an old fellow like myself, huh? I appreciate it, you know. But sit down, Mr. Manning. Sit down there, over there, in the usual chair. Let's get on with our story before I get all glittery and sentimental.
You're going to tell us about Professor Moriarty tonight, aren't you?
Well, I had intended to, but I've changed my mind. I'm going to tell you the adventure of a retired colorman instead.
Retired colorman? Isn't that a military term?
No, it isn't. Mr. Josiah P. Amberley had been the junior member of Brickfall and Amberley, manufacturers of artistic paint boxes. He made quite a tidy little fortune. Retired from business at the age of 61, bought a house at Lewisham, and then settled down. Early next year, 1897, I think it was, the old fool married.
Married?
Yes, married. The woman 30 years his junior.
Yes, that's always a bit risky.
Risky? Within 2 years, he was as miserable a creature as crawls beneath the sun. Oh, dear me, I'm jumping ahead in the story again. As I was saying, it was the 23rd of April, 1899, and a rainy and disagreeable April it had been. Holmes was in a melancholy and philosophic mood that morning as he stood by the window, watching the raindrops chasing one another down the pane. Rain had always depressed him when he was not working on a case. When he was working on a case, I don't believe he realized that there was such a thing as weather.
Look at that beastly rain. Hasn't stopped for 3 days. Might as well be another flood. Well, heaven only knows what transgressions could have brought it on. That's been a really first-class crime for months.
Oh, cheer up, Holmes, cheer up. It's probably good for the crops or something.
The shortage in crime?
No. The rain, of course. Probably makes the little buds sprout and the little shoots shoot.
Oh, don't be so blasted optimistic. More likely rotting all the seed that's already been planted. Rain, where the deuce does it all come from? This confounded English climate? Why any man with half a brain stays on this rain-soaked, mist-bound island is beyond me.
I doubt if the men have anything to do with it. It's the ladies, God bless them. This climate gives them perfect complexions, and with so many lovely creatures about, what Englishman would think of quitting the country? So much beauty, such exquisite...
Oh, rubbish, Watson, rubbish. The spring has given you a temporary softening of the brain. I regret to say it seems to have that effect on most impressionable males.
Impressionable nonsense. When a woman's concerned in one of your cases, you never even notice whether she's 16 or 60, and then you don't care whether she's got a well-turned ankle or whether she's flat-footed.
Oh, why should I?
Holmes, there are times when I think you're a cold-blooded fish.
Possibly, Watson, possibly. Why do you suppose the fool doesn't show up?
What fool?
Josiah P. Amberley.
Oh, is he one of your clients?
Oh, I suppose I may call him so. He's been sent to me by Scotland Yard.
Oh, by Scotland Yard.
Quite, by Lestrade, to be exact. You must consider the case fairly hopeless if Lestrade hands the matter over to me of his own accord.
Look, Holmes, There's a cab drawing up in front of our front door. He must be your client, Mr. Amberley.
Yeah. Strange-looking individual, eh, Watson?
He's quite an old fellow. Looks literally bowed down with care.
Ah, but no weakling. Look at those shoulders and that chest. The framework of a giant. He's arguing with the cab driver about the fare. Huh. Watches the pennies, eh?
I must say I don't like his face. So fierce and eager, and the way those snaky locks of grizzled hair stick out from under his hat.
I wonder what he's worrying. What's worrying, Mr. Amberley? Willing to bet it has something to do with money. I imagine nothing else could upset him to any great extent.
Nonsense, Holmes. You always look on the base side of human nature.
Here he is now. Come in, come in.
Which of you is Sherlock Holmes?
I am. This is my friend, Dr. Watson.
Who are you?
I'm a broken man. He's robbed me, the swine. Taken everything I had in the world. I thought he was my friend, and he took everything. Right from under my nose. In my own house. Robbed me, he did.
Yes, I felt sure it was a question of money.
Money? Who said money? He stole my wife. The light of my life. The apple of my eye. It's true she was very expensive. But after all, she was my wife, and he stole her.
Now, Mr. Amberley...
My beautiful blonde wife. Hair like gold. And my securities. The money I saved up with years of hard work. Gone. All gone.
Yes, thank you. First, tell us about your wife. How long have you been married?
2 years. 2 years, and she's tired of me already. 2 little years.
Easy now, good man, easy. More facts and fewer recriminations if we're to get to the bottom of this case.
Well, 3 years ago I retired. Bought a house. Big house at Lewisham. Cost me plenty of money, that house did. Well, sir, I'd never lived alone in a big house before and got sort of lonely. House began to need looking after, so I thought I'd start looking around for a wife. Nice, healthy, young wife to look after me. Then I met Ella. Handsome girl she was, too. A good cook. Hair like gold. Could bake a beef and kidney pie that would melt in your mouth. So I thought I might as well get married.
Yeah, very practical, I'm sure.
Yes, that's what I figured at that time. But, Lord, Mr. Holmes, the money a woman runs into. They made my heart bleed the way the money went.
I should have thought you'd have been glad when the other fellow took it off your hands. But who was this...
This wolf in sheep's clothing?
Yes.
His name was Dr. Ray Ernest, a young fellow. He used to come over nights and play chess with me.
I see. He stole your wife.
Yes, and my securities.
Yes, but surely the securities are registered. You can hardly hope to convert them.
Maybe not. But I must have them back. And you've got to find those securities for me, Mr. Holmes. You've got to find them.
And your wife, of course?
Oh, of course. Wherever she is, they are.
Ah, quite. On the other hand, Mr. Amberley, I confess I don't see that I can be of much service. It's a routine matter, and I'm sure that Scotland Yard would be only too glad...
They haven't found a thing, not a single security.
Oh, very well. And we'll do our best. Dr. Watson will take a run down to your house at Lewisham to look over the grounds.
Oh, really?
Yes. I hardly expected you to come yourself. After my heavy financial loss, nobody cares if an old man's heart is broken.
Oh, stop that blubbering. I'm not coming myself because I'm preoccupied with the case of the 2 Coptic patriarchs. This particular case doesn't seem to be very complicated. I'm sure, Mr. Amberley, that Dr. Watson can handle it as well as I could myself.
Well, if that's the best that you can offer, I suppose I must be satisfied. Pampered, that's what she was. And that young man, that dirty pickpocket, I treated him like my own son. He had the run of the house. And now look how they've treated me. Me, you never harmed a soul.
Quite. And now, good day, Mr. Amberley.
Yes. Well, good day, Mr. Holmes. And I shall expect Dr. Watson this afternoon. You have my address, I believe. Oh, the ingratitude, the rank ingratitude of it all.
I must say, Holmes, I like the way you've shoved all this off onto my shoulders. Coptic patriarchs, indeed. You just don't want to go.
Right, Watson, right, the very first time. You've been begging for a case all to yourself for months. Well, here it is.
Yes, and a nice case you've given me, I must say. That old skinflint.
Oh, my daughter, oh, my ducats, eh? With the emphasis on the ducats, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, confound that passage. There. Ah, that's better. That's dashed good. Hello. 2 steps on the stairs. Watson, if I'm not mistaken, and in a triumphant mood.
Hello, Holmes. Well,
I'm back.
Hail the conquering hero. A successful afternoon, I take it, with the light of victory in your eye.
Well, I did manage to dig up a clue.
Good. Now about Mr. Amberley's place of residence. What's it like?
Well, he calls it the Haven.
Oh, charming.
Yes, isn't it? I think the place place that interests you, Holmes. You know that particular quarter, the monotonous brick streets, the weary suburban highways. Well, right in the middle of them lies this beautiful old home, surrounded by a high sun-baked wall, mottled with lichens and topped with moss, the sort of wall...
You may omit the Percy, Watson. I note that it was a high brick wall.
Well, I should have guessed it was the haven, even if I hadn't asked the lounger who was smoking outside in the street.
A lounger?
Yes, a tall, dark, heavily moustached man with a curious look in his eye.
With great tinted glasses and a Masonic type-in?
Good heavens. How'd you know?
Oh, the fool. A child of 10 could have seen through that.
I must say, Holmes, I don't see it.
Never mind. Continue with your story, Watson.
Well, I'd hardly entered the gateway before I saw Mr. Amberley coming down the drive to meet me. He began at once, pouring out his grievances. We walked back to the house together.
And,
Well, once inside the wall, I must say, I've never seen a place worse kept. Garden lying to weeds and in a dreadful neglect. The house, too, was slatternly to the last degree. It just goes to show what happens to a place when there's no womanly hand about to keep it in order.
Yes, but Mrs. Amberley's only been missing a few days. Hardly time for so much disintegration to take place. Must have set in before she left.
Possibly. At any rate, Mr. Amberley seemed to be ashamed of it. He was doing his best to remedy it, though I must admit that his efforts looked a trifle ineffectual.
What's to become of me? What's to become of me? My wife gone, most of my fortune stolen. Oh, come in, Dr. Watson, come in. Here you see what remains of what used to be called my home. An Englishman's home is his castle, so they say. But home is where the heart is. In my heart. Look out, Dr. Watson, look out. That woodwork's just been...
Oh, look at that. My best pair of trousers.
Too bad. Careful. You almost get that pot of paint.
Oh, dash it all, Amber. This is absolutely the limit.
Sorry, I shouldn't have left that pot of paint in the middle of the passage, I suppose. That when one's alone in the house, one forgets.
Well, alone? So you've been doing this painting yourself?
It must strike you a strange occupation under the circumstances. One must do something to ease an aching heart. And step in here, Dr. Watson. This is my study, my sanctum sanctorum.
Oh, sanctum sanctorum. I see you've just finished painting woodwork in this room, too. What a smell of paint.
Yes, it's not dry yet. That's why I have a fire in here.
Now, let me see. Where did you keep your securities?
In the safe in that wall. This room is really a strong room, like a bank, with an iron shutter on the window and an iron door, burglar-proof. Ah, that's the irony of it. No thief from without could have taken my money, but my wife, my own wife. There's a picture, Dr. Watson, on the mantel, taken in a wedding dress.
Nice-looking girl, Emily. It doesn't look the sort...
the piper, the ingrate.
Oh, really?
Why, that very night, I bought 2 upper circle seats at the Haymarket Theatre. Wanted to give her a treat, I did.
Oh, didn't she go?
No. Last moment she said she felt sick. That she had a headache, she did. I believed her, went alone. When I came back, she was gone. The safe was right back.
Just a minute. What night was that, Mr. Emily?
Last Thursday.
Oh, Thursday, was it?
Here's an unused ticket. Money wasted. She was always wasting money.
May I have that ticket, Mr. Emily? Hold on. You thrown it in the fire. No, why?
I wanted to get rid of it. I want to get rid of everything that reminds me of her. Here, give me that picture.
Well, I say...
There, into the fire she goes, Cursor. May her soul burn in torment. Their picture's burning now.
Unpleasant fellow, eh, Watson? This case begins to look more somber than I suspected. If you could only have brought me that ticket, Watson.
Oh, I did my best, Holmes. I may not have the ticket itself, but I did notice the number of the seat.
Oh, bravo, Watson. How did you happen to remember it?
Well, as a matter of fact, it was my place in form at school, 31. See from the bottom. And so it stuck in my head.
Splendid, old fellow. Then Amberley's seat must have been 30 or 32. Dear me now. Who can that be?
Well, whoever it is, he's dashed impatient.
Oh, yes. Here he comes up the stairs, fairly running. Come in. Well, bless my soul if it isn't our old friend, our good friend, Mr. Amberley. What's up?
A telegram, Mr. Holmes. I can't make anything of it. Here, see for yourself.
Uh-huh. Come at once without fail.
Yes.
Can give you information as to your recent lost find, Elman,
Yes,
at the
Elman.
vicarage. Dispatched at 2:10 from Little Purlington. Little Purlington in Essex, I believe, not far from Frinton. You will start at once, of course. Watson, look up the train.
It's probably a hoax. What could anyone in Little Purlington
But it's
know
from a
about
very
it?
responsible person. Where's my Crockford? Yes, here it is. We'll look up this minister of the gospel. Elman. Here it is. Yeah, J.C. Elman, M.A., living of Mossmore, Little Purlington.
Yes, but I still don't think...
Surely, Mr. Amberley, you want to find your wife and your lost security,
Of course, but it's a waste of time and money.
Here we are. Here's the train from Liverpool Street at 5:20.
Yes, we just have time. Mr. Amberley, you go downstairs and hail a cab. I'll help Dr. Watson throw a few things in the bag.
You think I need Dr. Watson? Perhaps I'd better go alone.
Oh, no. It may be a trap for all we know.
I don't think I shall go.
Mr. Amberley, it would make the worst possible impression on both the police and on myself if you refused to follow up so obvious a clue. We should feel that you were not in earnest about this investigation.
Very well, I'll go.
Perhaps you'd better go with him, Holmes.
What? Take your case, Watson. After the brilliant way in which you've handled it? No. Go along, Mr. Amberley, or you'll miss your train.
Very well, but the expense is...
Here you are, Watson. Here's your bag.
Look, it's packed.
Yes, you never know when you may be called off on a case like this. I packed it for you.
Holmes, I do think
Quite. Now, whatever you do, see that he really does go to Little Purlington.
Yes, I don't think that he's
Again, quite. Should he break away and try to return, get to the nearest telegraph station and send me the single word bolted. I will arrange to have it reach me wherever I am.
What? You have something to look into at this end, then?
I have, Watson. This case is beginning to take on a rather curious and sinister aspect. Above all, old man, take good care of yourself. And Mr. Amberley.
Before we find the outcome of Watson's curious mission, ladies and gentlemen, I have a few words to say. Here's what you want to do when you feel a cold coming on. Here's what you want to do at the very first sign of a cold. Take famous bromoquinine cold tablets. Bromoquinine tablets don't fool. No, sir, they get right after a cold symptom. They get right after a cold's misery. They relieve the headache and other pains that go with a cold. They relieve that stuffiness and feeling of depression that accompanies the cold. They help reduce the fever that goes with a cold. Bromoquinine tablets are fast and decisive in their action. First, because they're made especially for the relief of the common cold. And secondly, because they act internally. You can take lots of things for the relief of a cold, but nothing more reputable and reliable than famous bromoquinine tablets. Get them at any drugstore at the first symptom of a cold. Ask for bromo, B-R-O-M-O, quinine, Q-U-I-N-I-N-E, bromoquinine cold tablets.
Confound this rain. Everything's as dark as a black hole of Calcutta. Yeah, the haven. Chilly little haven this is. I can find a window unlatched. Not much chance on the first floor. The old boy's 2 quarters. Ooh. Second-story window, perhaps. Now, if I can manage to scale this porch pillar. This confounded rain. Just slippery as a greased pole. Come on. Hey, there we are. Yeah. Here's the window that's unlatched. Easy. Now. 1 foot over the sill. Now
up with your hands. Up with them, I tell you. Thought I wouldn't see you prowling around down below, eh? Well, I've caught you red-handed.
Nice wild goose chase that turned out to be. That friend of yours, Sherlock Holmes, is a fool.
I'm sure, Mr. Amberley, if you'll call and see him, he can explain.
Explain nothing. That vicar had never seen that telegram before. The way he treated us. You might have thought we were suspicious characters. Then missing the last train and having to sit up all night in the confounded station with the rain dripping through the roof.
Well, we could have gone to an hotel.
Gone to an hotel? That costs money. Gone to an hotel, indeed.
Well, here's your house, Mr. Amberley. I think I'll go along home now and get some breakfast.
You will not. I'm going to come into the house and see if everything's all... I look up there. The window over the porch. It's open.
Perhaps you left it like that yourself.
Rubbish. I tell you, I don't like the looks of this. Where's my key? Here it is. We'll soon find out.
I say, it is gloomy, isn't it?
Look. Someone's been here right enough. Footprints on the fresh paint. I'll find him if I have to tear the place apart.
No need for that, Mr. Amberley. We're here waiting for you in the study.
Holmes! Good heavens, what a start you get.
How did you get in here?
Arrived in through the through an upstairs window.
That's burglary, young man.
Yes. Burglary's always been an alternate profession, and I cared to adopt it. I'll admit I was glad I hadn't when I walked into Inspector Lestrade's gun last night. He thought I was a burglar, too. But come, we're keeping him waiting. He's in the library. Here they are, Lestrade. I told you we could expect them back before 10.
No, but look here, that's not Lestrade. That's the man I saw loitering in front of the gate yesterday afternoon. The fellow with the black moustache and the glasses.
Yes, that's right, Dr. Watson.
Yes. Lestrade fondly imagines that's the disguise.
Oh, now, look here, no.
It's as obvious to anyone who takes the
Now,
trouble.
look here, I've had enough of this. I won't have two busybodies prowling around my house in the middle of the night. And what's more, Mr. Sherlock Holmes, I suspect you sent that telegram yourself.
Very clever of you, Mr. Amberley, very clever. You look a trifle pale. I thought a night in the country might do you
no,
good.
enough of that. What kind of a fool do you take me for? I have you put behind the bars, all of you.
Oh, surely not Inspector Lestrade. Why, he's from Scotland Yard.
I don't care if it's from the House of Lords.
Yeah, none of that.
You're all disgraced, publicly disgraced. Breaking into my house in the middle of the night. Oh, I'll get you for that. What were you doing in here last night? Answer me that.
Looking for the bodies.
What?
Looking for the bodies of your wife and Dr. Ernest. What have you done with them?
How dare you?
You murdered them in this room. We have ample proof.
Why, you...
Stop him, Watson. Stop him. He's got a capsule in his hand. It's poison. He's got to swallow it.
No.
Come on, get that out.
Spit it out.
Spit it out.
Spit it out, or I'll choke
Oh,
you.
short cut, Mr. Amberley, if you please. Everything decently and in its proper place. Take him away, Lestrade.
Right, come along now. No more monkey business. I won't put up with that. All right, come.
Phew, what a scene. So that old brute Amberley's a murderer, eh? How did you find it out?
Well, the first clue was the theater ticket, which you didn't use. We found that out.
Oh, that destroyed his alibi.
Yes, the theater people assured us that there had been 2 empty seats, not just one. The second clue was the smell of fresh paint. What was he trying to hide by that?
Yes, what?
Gas. He asphyxiated his wife and Dr. Ernst in this room.
Good heavens.
His strong room, which was as near airtight as anything could humanly possibly
Yes,
be.
but how?
Well, that's what I wanted to find out. That's what I was looking for when I broke into the house last night.
And what did you find?
Look here. Notice the gas pipe along the skirting here? It rises in the wall, in the angle there, and ends in that plaster rose in the center of the ceiling where it's concealed by that ornamentation. The end's wide open.
How horrible.
Yes, and look here. Look, near the floor. What do you make out?
2 words written on the wall. We were. Then a scroll. We were. What does that mean?
The poor devil was trying to write, "We were murdered." I can see the whole ghastly scene. It was last Thursday night. Amberley had lured his wife and Dr. Ernest into this room.
Oh, listen to that wind. I wish it would stop.
It's not so bad in this room. Let's have a little game in here, eh, Dr. Ernest? Just you sit here, there. Entertain the doctor while I go and look for the chessmen. Excuse me for a minute, Dr. Ernest.
Certainly.
And if you don't mind, I'll close the door. There's such a draft. It'll be much cozier in here with the door closed. Much cozier.
If that wind only wouldn't howl. I feel so depressed. Is there something terrible we're going to happen?
Oh, nonsense, my dear Mrs. Amberley. This house is getting on your nerves. Is it any wonder?
He gets worse and worse. Oh, Dr. Ernest, I'm so frightened.
You must go away.
What?
Now, don't be alarmed, Mrs. Amberley. I've had your husband under observation for some time. I'm afraid he isn't quite normal. It isn't safe for you to stay here any longer.
But, Dr. Ernest, don't you understand? I can't leave my husband. Heaven knows what would happen if I left him alone.
We could get a nurse to take care of him. You can't stay here with him. What was that?
Josiah, he heard us. He was outside the door listening. Oh, Dr. Ernest, this is terrible. What can we do?
Listen. You hear that?
It's the gas. Someone's turned on the gas. I can smell it.
Hurry. We've got to get out of here.
What? Oh, the door's locked. He's locked the door. Amberley! I say, Amberley, open the door.
Quick, the window. No, that's locked, too. The iron shutters.
Amberley, let us out.
You realize what this means? He's going to kill us. He must have gone mad, I'm afraid.
Yes, it's what I was afraid of. He's a maniac. A homicidal maniac. Oh, this is horrible. We're trapped. What a fool I was.
What can we do? I feel so faint. I can hardly breathe.
Here. Lie down on the floor. The air's better down here.
It's no use. I can't stay awake. I don't mind anymore. I'm quite all right. Really.
Mrs. Amberley. Mrs. Amberley. Don't give up. I feel pain, too. I must warn people. It's dangerous. I can't think. God, I can't breathe. I can't think.
What a tragic story, Dr. Watson. And was Mr. Amberley insane?
They decided he was. He ended his days in an asylum.
Did they ever find the bodies?
Yes, at the bottom of an old well, the opening of which had been cleverly concealed by a dog kennel.
I see.
And now I'm afraid it's time to say goodbye.
Well, not goodbye, Dr. Watson. Au revoir.
Oh, just as you say, Mr. Manning. Anyway, in conclusion, I want to thank you and our radio audiences who so patiently listened to the reminiscences of a sentimental old fellow. And I want to wish you all, old and young, an extremely happy summer.
Thank you, Dr. Watson. Ladies and gentlemen, in just a moment, Basil Rathbone would like to say a few words to you. But first, may I give you a word of advice? Remember the danger of the so-called common cold. Remember the sickness it can cause and the bills it can cost. Act promptly, decisively, at the first sign of a cold. Take famous bromoquinine tablets. Bromoquinine tablets have a reputation. Their fame extends to all quarters of the globe. Their merit is an assured fact. Reliability is the one thing you want in any medicine, especially a medicine for the relief of cold. Don't wait. Don't procrastinate when you feel a cold coming on. Go right to your druggist and get a box of bromoquinine tablets. The small cost may save you a lot in grief and expense. Ask clearly for bromoquinine cold tablets. And now, here's Basil Rathbone.
Ladies and gentlemen, to me, Sherlock Holmes has always been one of the greatest characters ever created. Tonight, as our present series ends, I'd like to thank our sponsor, the makers of bromoquinine, for giving me the opportunity of playing Holmes on the air, especially with such an inspired Dr. Watson as Nigel Bruce.
Oh, Basil, that's very...
Please.
Oh, sorry, what?
Speaking to myself and Mr. Bruce, may I express our gratitude to our radio audience for the many letters of interest and encouragement that we received. And finally, a word of appreciation to all the performers and others concerned with this program who have helped so immeasurably in making the Baker Street days live again. And now, until fall, it's time for me, too, to say au revoir and good luck.
You have been listening to a Sherlock Holmes adventure adapted by Edith Miser from Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's story, The Retired Colorman, with Basil Rathbone as Sherlock Holmes and Nigel Bruce as Dr. Watson. The Sherlock Holmes series was produced by Tom McKnight. This program was presented from Hollywood by the makers of bromoquinine cold tablets, quick relief for colds. This is Knox Manning speaking.
This is the National Broadcasting Company.
Good evening, Doctor. You look a bit irritated, if you will pardon my saying.
Good evening, Mr. Manning. Good evening. Yes, I am a bit annoyed, and with good reason. I don't know if I've told you that Holmes has been listening in to these reminiscences. Well, here's a letter I received from him after last week's story. Read it.
All right. My dear Watson, I noticed that in your last broadcast, you gave way to your regrettable habit of emotionalizing your story. Detection, my dear fellow, is or ought to be an exact science. To tinge it with romanticism is like introducing a love story into the fifth proposition of Euclid. As ever, Sherlock Holmes.
Well, what do you think of that?
But the emotion was there. You couldn't tamper with the truth.
Holmes has always maintained that the truth is not in what you say, but in the impression you create in the other person's mind. Well, Holmes always complained that I overstress the human element in recording his cases. How well I remember the attitude with which he received the publishing of my first book about his adventures. It was a cold morning in early spring. We were sitting on either side of a cheery fire in our rooms in Baker Street. A thick fog rolled down between the dun-colored houses, Our gas was lit. It shone on the white cloth and glimmered on the coffee cups and on the soda. The breakfast table had not yet been cleared away. Holmes had been silent all the morning, smoking his long cherrywood pipe, which usually disgraced his favorite tray when he was in a disputatious mood. Altogether, he was not in the best of tempers.
Matches. Where are the matches? Look at that confounded fog. What happens to all the matches in this house, I'd like to know.
My dear Holmes, why not use the tongs and a live coal if you want to relight your pipe?
Huh? Oh! I've burned myself.
For heaven's sake, Holmes, stop struggling. Something's annoying you. Why not get it off your chest?
It's that confounded book of yours.
Hmm?
Sensationalism, Watson. Rank sensationalism. You're always placing the emphasis on the crime. Crime is common, logic is rare. You should stress the logic. You have degraded what should have been a course of lectures into a series of tales.
Now, really, Holmes, that's not logical. You're always complaining that crime is falling off. You say there are no first-class criminals left.
Quite. And therefore, if you depend on the crime to hold your readers, you will soon be a back number. Criminals. Bah! They've lost all their enterprise and originality. My practice seems to be degenerating into an agency for recovering lost lead pencils and giving good advice to young ladies from boarding schools.
Advice to the lovelorn, eh?
Well, look at this. This note. It came by this morning's post. Here. The last straw, that's what it is. Read it.
Let's have a look. Dear Mr. Holmes, I'm very anxious to consult you as to whether I should or I should not accept the situation which has been offered me as a governess. Whatever it is. I shall call at 10:30 tomorrow if I do not inconvenience you. Yours faithfully, Violet Hunter. Where is she? It's 11 now.
Exactly. She's late. Just like a woman.
I say, Holmes, you should see your young lady now walking briskly up the street.
I see. Brisk, purposeful manner. Nice, biting, silicon face.
Yes, it is. She's stopping at our door.
Oh, maybe something in this case after all, my dear Watson. She's not the hysterical sort that makes a fuss over nothing. There she is. Come in. How do you do?
This is Mr. Sherlock Holmes.
Quite. And this is my colleague, Dr. Watson.
How do you do?
How do you do?
I trust you'll excuse my troubling you, Mr. Holmes, but I've had a very strange experience. And as I have no relations of any sort to advise me, I thought I'd best come to you.
I shall be very happy to do anything that I can.
Well, I've been a governess for 5 years in the family of Colonel Kent Monroe. He's been transferred to Nova Scotia, so that for the last few months I've been without a situation. Well, I advertised and answered advertisements, but without success. You see, the money I had saved began to run out, and I was at my wit's end.
Indeed. No, go on.
Well, yesterday I called in at a well-known employment agency run by a Miss Stoker. When I arrived, the outer office was filled with young ladies looking for situations. I was told to wait. But I did. After about half an hour, my name was called out. Well, the door to Miss Stoker's private office was ajar. He could describe it as a prodigiously stout man with a round, smiling face and a heavy chin. His eyes were like two little slits. Well, I advanced to the door, my knees trembling. Oh, Mr. Holmes, if you know how I needed that wait.
Come in, my dear. Come in. Mr. Newcastle. This is Miss, what is your name, my dear?
Miss Hunter, Violet Hunter.
Oh, yes, Miss Hunter.
Capital. I couldn't ask for anything better. I'm sure you'll do, Miss Hunter.
I hope so, Mr. Newcastle.
You're looking for a situation as governess?
Yes, sir.
And what salary do you ask?
Well, I had £4 a month in my last place.
£4? Sweating. Frank sweating. How anyone could have the audacity to offer that to a lady with such a question, such accomplishment. A lady fitted for the rearing of a child who may someday play a considerable part in the history of this country. Your salary with me, madam, will commence at £100 a year.
100? Oh, Mr. Newcastle.
And furthermore, it is my custom to advance my young ladies half their salary beforehand.
May I ask where you live, Mr. Newcastle?
Hampshire, a charming rural spot. The Copper Beaches is the name of the place, 5 miles north of Winchester, or the dearest old house.
And what would be my duty?
One child, a dear little romper aged 6. Oh, if you could see him killing cockroaches with a slipper. Smack, smack, smack. He's gone before you could wink.
My sole duty, then, is to take care of this child.
Well, I'm sure your good sense would suggest that you obey any little commands which my wife might give, provided, of course, that they were such as a lady might obey with propriety. You see no difficulty, eh?
Oh, I should be happy to make myself useful.
Oh, by the way, in dress, for example, we're faddy people. Faddy but kind-hearted. Now, if you were asked to wear a particular dress that we might give you, you wouldn't object to our little whim.
No.
Or to sit here or there, that wouldn't be offensive to you.
Why, no.
Or to cut your hair short before you come to it.
My hair?
Oh, yes, it is quite essential. It's a little fancy of my wife, you see. And ladies' fancies, my dear, Miss Hunter, must be consulted.
But my hair... Oh, no, I couldn't.
No, oh, what a pity. Well, in that case, Miss Stoker, I'd best inspect a few more of your young ladies.
Good day, then, Miss Hunter. I'm afraid you must consider yourself stuck from our list. Oh, but you can hardly expect us to exert ourselves to find another such opening for you. But, Miss Stoper... Good day, Miss Hunter.
Oh, just a minute, Miss Stoper. Let's not be too hard on the young lady. After all, my request was a little sudden. Perhaps, Miss Hunter, you'd like 24 hours in which to consider the matter. And in view of the fact that you have particularly beautiful hair, I might be willing to raise the salary to £120 a year. To recompense you for our little eccentricity. Unusual, most unusual, my dear Miss Hunter. What do you make of it, Watson?
Well, perhaps his husband's wife is a lunatic and he wishes to humor her in her fancies in order to prevent an outbreak.
Possibly, Watson, possibly. In any case, it doesn't seem a nice household for a young lady.
But the money, Mr. Holmes, the money, and I need it so.
Well, yes, the pay is good. Too good. Why should they give you £120 when they can have their pick for 40? There must be some strong reason.
But I have no choice.
Then you've made up your mind to accept?
Yes, I must. I thought if I told you the circumstances, you would understand afterwards if I wanted your help. And Mr. Holmes, I could feel so much stronger if I knew you were behind me.
Certainly you may carry that feeling away with you. And if at any time you should find yourself in danger...
Danger? Well, what danger could there be?
My dear Miss Hunter, you could cease to be a danger if we could define it. But remember, at any time, day or night, just telegraph me and we'll come to your help.
Oh, of course. Thank you, Mr. Holmes. Thank you.